It's a new season of RaceKraft V8 Veterans, our second season with the new Gen 3 supercars. Can't wait to see what action it'll bring this season. Mostly the same drivers here in the top split 1 of 4, but a few promotions, a few new entrants to the championship. We'll see what they bring to the racing with the looming gloom of an iRacing update coming. The 300 kilometers of Sebring has been cut down to 250 to make sure we can squeeze it all in tonight. We're looking forward to bringing you this live coverage here on SimSpeed TV. David Haynes here with Brock Cat-Eye, Daniel Yeaman in the production truck. Beautiful racetrack, beautiful championship, beautiful cars. I think this is one that's going to suit them pretty well. It's got bumps, it's got big curbs, but it's also got some long straights and high speeds, Brock.
Yeah, it's great to be back again here in the comms box with you, David. This track's awesome. Sebring is it's one of those drivers' tracks where it really does test what you can do with the car. And these supercars we know are a handful of the best of times. But all the bumps, it's got the sawtooth curbing as well. iRacing's implemented that recently, and that presents a whole new challenge when using the curbs at Sebring. So I think we're in for a really interesting night. The guys will just have to race as fast as they can to beat the iRacing update.
Yes, indeed. Got to squeeze 250 kilometers in before the servers shut down. It's got a very much 90s movie plot written all about it. We'll see how they go. Old Airfield here, obviously, a training base in World War II for Air Force pilots. Some of the large paved runways, the access roads, the camps, all of that turned into a beautiful racetrack that's evolved many times over the years, since 1950. When it first hosted racing, to 1999 when it began to look how it looks now. Modifications to Le Mans Corner, modifications to the hairpin at Turn 7, all in the name of safety, but all in the name of keeping the same character. The pavement on the front straight, the back straight and Sunset Bend untouched since World War II. Its current iteration, it's about 6 kilometers, just a little bit shorter than Mount Panorama Bathurst.
That's really cool. I love that. I didn't actually know that, David. You've taught me something, that it's the original pavement from World War II. I guess I always knew there was something pretty special about Sebring, and that certainly contributes to it. But look, tonight it's going to be a hard one for the guys to set their cars up for. As you mentioned, you've got these big long straights, but you've got a lot of bumps, and then you've got some tight stuff, some windy stuff. This track really throws it all at you, and it's all about setting the car up for what you want it to do best, and then you kind of just got to deal with any shortcomings that come from the fact you can't. Obviously, a driver's dream is you can set your car up to do everything you want it to. In reality, you can't do that, so these guys will have had their work cut out for them for the beginning of the season.
Yep, absolutely classic track. My favourite would have to be the 1959 Formula One Grand Prix here, when Sir Jack Brabham ran out of fuel on the final lap while leading the race, pushed his Cooper across the finish line to finish 5th or something, and in doing so become the first Australian to be a Formula One world champion. That happened here, as well as some other crazy stuff if you want to read the Wikipedia article of that year. Someone entered a dirt midget in the Formula One Grand Prix and thought it would be competitive. Spoiler alert. It wasn't, but everyone will be racing either Chevrolet Camaro or Ford Mustang supercars here tonight. We might see McLaren 720S safety car. Who knows? We'll see what happens across this race. As we begin a new season, we need to just recap where we've come from in RaceKraft V8 Vets. At the end of season 22, newcomer Jordan Ross took his first championship, dethroning Scott Gamble, who'd been on a hot streak. They were ahead of Matt Vanderkraan, Ken Latta, Wayne Walker, Troy Stonestreet, Michael Whiting, Dan Hall, Luke Allman, and Jeff Thomas as our top 10. There were 2 drop rounds counted in that championship, and of course that just makes everything look that much closer at the end of the season.
Yeah, look, Jordan Ross is the guy to beat, and he showed it last season, but I'm sure these guys will have done some research, done some testing to try and find that speed that Jordan really did have. But it's going to be all on Scott Gamble. He'll want to take that crown back. We've got other fast guys, Matt Vanderkran. Gamble had some great battles at Sandown and Phillip Island last season as well, showing he's got a hell of a lot of that Aussie grit that you were just talking about with Brabham. So I'm sure we're going to see it all laid out here. You don't race supercars slowly, and you don't race them without bumping and trying to make your way through.
So we're trying to beat the clock and get back to our coach before midnight, before it turns into a pumpkin. This is the format for tonight, slightly altered from usual. So cut just a tiny bit shorter there to a 42-lap race, which is just over 250 kilometres. Also an hour 50 time limit due to iRacing server maintenance and deployment. Starting fuel is 80 litres. Refill capacity is uncapped. Big old fuel cell in these cars because they are thirsty. 133 litres, seeing that the typical fuel burn there might be about 5 litres per lap, meaning that everyone's going to need to take a fair drink of fuel to get to the end of this one. But they can't do it on just one stop because there are 2 compulsory pit stops, with the compulsory pit stop window opening at the end of lap 2. Terms and conditions apply. Read the full PDS at RaceKraft V8 Vets. If symptoms persist, see your race control, and that's because depending on exactly how it works out, there's what counts as a compulsory pit stop and there's what counts as the compulsory pit stop window opening. If we get a lap 1 safety car, it does not count. And that had been a point of contention in the start, round 1 of last season. Hopefully not a drama this year.
Yeah, fingers crossed. These compulsory pit windows always create a little bit of interest there, and now we look at our possible pit stop strategies. So there's a few different ones there. Probably the point being in all of this, it doesn't matter how you do it, you just got to fit those 2 stops in, and depending on how your tyres are, where you're positioned in the grid, if you're stuck in a group you just can't get out of, pitting early, getting the fresh tyres might be the way to do it, but it's all going to be to play for out there. And I think that the compulsory pit stops, while they might be a bit hard to navigate at times and a bit sticky with the rules, they certainly throw some good action in there, and strategy is always a nice bit of sauce to create some drama.
Now, interestingly, the required fuel drop tonight is going to be just about the same as the total fuel tank size, and that's where you see this overlap between the stop as late as possible strategy in yellow and the stop as early as possible strategy in red, where if you perhaps had an early safety car, you'd fuel the car up and then look to your critical lap where you could make your second stop and get home from. That's the red strategy. Whereas hanging it out, trying to have clean air, trying to run the car light on fuel, trying to maximize your pace away from traffic is the yellow strategy. Teal, somewhere in between, and you need 9 seconds to cover your tyre change. That's about 17 litres of fuel. Most of the time, you're going to add more fuel than that, and so it's just a worry about your fuel, not the tyre change time. This is the schedule for Season 23. It starts here tonight, right now, at Sebring International Raceway, and then Mount Panorama. We love that track. Mid-Ohio, Donington Park, Barber, Winton Raceway, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, Daytona International Speedway, Interlagos and VIR. So that's an awesome looking schedule with some big races at Daytona and of course Mount Panorama next time out. So qualifying completed, heading towards the grid. Jordan Ross is going to start on the front row on the inside ahead of Wayne Walker by just 19 thousandths of a second. The reigning champions on pole for race 1. Kenneth Latta and Mike Taliancic are row number 2 with Darren Lobb and Matt Vanderkran the row behind that. Troy Stonestreet. Scott Mackay and Troy Stonestreet are on the next row there, and then Michael Stewart and Dean Logsdale, I believe a new entrant to Split 1 and RaceKraft V8 Vets. He starts inside of the top 10. He'll be very, very happy with that one. Sean McNamara and Sean Gallen, 11 and 12. Travis Hunt and Christopher Burridge on a very yellow next row. Or is it orange? Or is it copper? Logan Barnett, Stuart Hall 15th and 16th, Dean Flavel and Michael Whiting on the next row, and then the top 20, the top half of the field, is completed by Jamie McKnight and Justin McLeanbrock.
Yep, it's going to be great out there, and I think we're just gearing up for the start here now. How close was that qualifying? But we'll keep going through the grid. Excuse me, sorry guys. I was busy looking at the starting grid. That's right. We're going. We won't get through the rest of the grid. Apologies, guys. We are ready to rock and roll here. The guys are eager to get off. The green flag has now flown. Let's see who gets to start here. It's a huge field here. They're coming from around the corner through Sunset Bend up the back there. Fairly equal start at the front of the field. Looks like Jordan Ross will just have the advantage. Yep, he'll take that through. Second place will go to Wayne Walker, and they will file through. Keep it clean. We got some 3-wide action in the back there. That wide turn one always offers that up. They keep it nice and clean here. Single file at the front already. Great effort so far by the guys as we come around through the first few turns.
Yeah, for Jordan Ross as the defending champion to put it on pole, get such a great race start. That's critical for him. A few little dramas in the background there, including Jamie McKnight going through a little bit of the grass. Not too much change inside of the top 10. They've all got away cleanly, but with a large field, I believe we've got 43 drivers in this one. Jamie McKnight's back in 35th. Big field of angry supercars head towards the biggest braking zone in the race, in the lap at turn 7. Chris Miller was also involved, and there he is back in 43rd. Last car running. Or maybe he wasn't involved. Not sure exactly who was. Jordan Ross still leads with Wayne Walker in second, so no change in this top 5. I'm seeing a little bit of change there as Troy Stone Street looks to jump ahead into Tower Bend, one of the few places on the racetrack with a little bit of camber to help you carry speed through the corner. It looks like Wayne Walker is under some pressure.
Yeah, Kenneth Latter is keen to get this thing moving. He's got Mike Taliancic right up behind him, keeping him honest. So these guys, we could always say to them, you've got 250 kilometres ahead. They won't listen. They're out here to get those positions. This is giving Jordan Ross a great opportunity to sprint away here with a great gap already, but with a big draft opportunity here to come down in the Sunset Bend through the back straight. We'll see if they're able to get a move made, but looks like all the fields sorted themselves out. So that's great to see. We don't like seeing incidents on the first lap. Is anyone going to pull out and try and go for a move here? It looks like we're going to stay line astern. No one had the run. That's okay. As we come through Sunset Bend for the first time to complete lap 1 of this season 23 at the V8 Veterans.
Lap 1 of 42. Great race start here from Jordan Ross. Inside of the top 10 to move is Scott Mackay up 1 spot. Sean McNamara up 2. Mark Poynton's gone from 24th to 17th, I think, on this opening lap. So whichever way he went, he picked up quite a few spots on the opening lap. And there are a few little tales of woe up the back, including Stewie Hall pitting, Michael Stewart potentially as well. Don't know how they came together. Chris Miller also losing some spots on that opening lap. Through Big Bend, flat out but sweeping right-hander and then pointing towards the braking zone at turn 7. Wayne Walker still holds on to that second place. Photographers on the outside, photographers on the inside. Here I am stuck in the middle with you.
Well done. I knew there'd be a reference of some sort coming there. I just didn't know when. The cars are looking racy here yet again. Ladder, he seems to be able to get close, but at all the wrong points to actually throw a move. So they're going to stay. They're going to continue on like this for the time being. But Jordan Ross.
Tim Nicol.
Oh, we've got an incident. Tim Nicol.
Yeah, at turn 7, he's been turned around at that choke point, and then he's been hit multiple times by the rest of the field coming through. So the Quantum Racer is not happy because he is down 7 positions, perhaps more. I think he might have been up a little bit after a poor qualifying. Now it's fallen apart yet more for him. Didn't speak a whole lot about track temperatures. It's pretty cool. It's a morning session here, so Sunset Bend. The sun's on the other side of the racetrack. 18 in the air, 20 on the racing surface. Whoa, big movement there from one of the Pelicans, Pacific Esports Racing. And I can't pick which one it is that's dropping back.
Go.
It was John Gallen.
Yeah, John Gallen had that big moment. Did well to save the car there, but he's still being monstered as that ruined his run down into Sunset Bend and starting the next lap. So he may well even lose another position out of this. Not quite sure if he got a bump there or if he just got wide, but either way, again, he did well to not turf that thing right into the wall again. He's going back at that super cheap auto car there, and it looks like he's going to get that position back. So well done. Big grit, big fight, as we were talking about before the race, and he's showing plenty of it.
Drops in front of Dean Flavel. home of the Dino's Dino, WKNP Sim Sports, just dropped just back into 14th place now. Oh, here is the Dino Dino. So after all of that, he's up at 125 BPM. Not a bad effort at all.
Look at those calories being burnt. After this race, he's earned himself, I reckon, a burger and some chips, because you would have burnt off enough doing 250 kilometres around here. It's hard work, this sim racing.
Yeah, that's the aim. He'll probably recover in great fashion, I'm sure. On board with him right now as he follows in behind 13th place, John Gallen, who has recovered somewhat. Sean McNamara gaining a couple more spots inside of the top 10 off this race start. You'll notice that on the timing column left of screen, and also if you look at the live timing link in the YouTube chat, that can keep you up to date with all the comings and goings all through this large 40-plus supercar field. Stephen Varga, another one of the Quantum Racing cars, a little out of position in 30th. We saw some dramas for his teammate Tim Nicol. Also looking at Frog Leap Juiced Racing's Robbie Crisdale. And his teammate, Poynton, who we called out as one of the big movers, but behind him, from 18th place, a slide, perhaps contact with the wall, Justin McLean.
Yeah, they're already getting slippy out here. Just as we were looking at big movers, we were thinking through the field, not falling back, but he's gathered that up. And David, can you confirm, did he hit the wall or did he get away with that one?
Might have got away with it, but he had a big slide off the right-hander onto the Ullman Straight. I think I saw the DRS board and thought it was his bumper that had fallen off, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, it's easy to do these days when the bits of the car fly off so easily. Geez, they're already getting loose for only a few laps into the race. They're pushing hard out here at the moment. Oh, that's a tight move there and behind Justin McLean, this little battle pack here. So I'm not sure exactly who that was there, but he's gotten that move done with minimal contact, which is great to see, and they carry on with a few drivers in the pit lane by the looks of it.
Yeah, so I think this is looking like a case of damage. We spoke about teammates Tim Nicol, Stephen Varga, Dan Hall in there as well. We definitely know Nicol was involved in some carnage, as they call it in France. So maybe it's a case of where we're within range to make the first compulsory pit stop within the window, and also just want to tidy up the car a little bit, get out of some of the melee, and perhaps try to undercut. Like I said, I thought those guys were top 20 pace, and they were running down in sort of 35th, 40th. Maybe they think they can undercut their way back into the top 20 with what they're doing.
Yeah, look, as teammates, play the drafting game. And just as we're chatting about this, Craig Friend has received a drive-through penalty. I can only assume that's for some of the, as you said, carnage that happened in the earlier laps, although I can't confirm that right now.
I guess it might be with Tim Nicol at turn 7, but quite a bit happened elsewhere as well.
Yeah, yep, that'll make this one a long, hard slog for old Craig to get back through the pack after that one. A drive-through penalty this early in the race at least gives you a chance. We're queuing replays. We're having a look at what's been going on here. So this is lap 1 replay. McKnight and Miller. So that's what happened there to McKnight, why he was so far back, and Miller dawdling around at the back there at the start of that first lap.
Yeah, it looks like a pinch at turn 4, so you're working through the left-hander at turn 3, and then, there's just a bit of a pinch with the overlap there through turn 4, and it gets the quarter of Jamie McKnight, spears him across Chris Miller, who then can't really get out of it, and the two of them are entwined and entangled. As for Tim Nicol, I think that's Friend behind him. Yes.
Yep.
You know what they say.
What's that?
With friends like that.
I don't know the rest of the quote. You're referencing things. I've got to give it to you, David. You're throwing a couple of new ones at me, but you've got to finish it now.
You don't need enemies.
There you go. I'll have to remember that one for later on, just in case.
So we've seen Dino's Dino, but who else is joining us on the Zoom wall? Well, Tim Nicol, Jeff Thomas, John Gallen, Travis Hunt. He's got his Schmicko glasses on, but I don't see a sign of him chewing quite as much gum, as he normally goes for. Loves the peppermint, loves the spearmint. And then Dan Hall, Sean McNamara, Greg Sharp in VR there, Christian Smart, newcomer-ish, Stacey, surname I read on the entry list, Stacey Boyd. And then Michael Stewart, of course, giving us the great view of his wall art, the greatest racing tracks in the world. And what do you know? We race at a lot of those as well. Sebring will be on that somewhere, no doubt. It's history both in the Formula One World Drivers' Championship, in the World Endurance Championship, in IMSA, and as a standalone venue.
Yes, absolutely, and I'm glad Stuart listened to our advice last season, and he moved the camera up a bit. It's a shame we can't see him so much anymore, but we can see that excellent map of everything going, all those racing tracks that are, as you said, we race at. Lap 3 replay here. We're just watching Greg Sharp at the moment. There we go. A little bit of nose-to-tail contact there. That's Sunday car park traffic stuff. That's an unfortunate one with just the lightest of contact causing a spin. It's just the littlest of boops, and that's just spontaneous around there. Unfortunate, that one. Oh, great avoidance there. My goodness, that could have been an absolute pranger, but he avoided that like a champion.
A little bit of December 23rd at Westfield type action, indeed. At one of the slowest corners on the racetrack, the biggest stop, massive concertina effect there, leading to a little bit of contact we've seen in a few of these replays. So, highest running car to have stopped at this point. It's Craig Friend. Perhaps only took the repairs though, not a whole lot of fuel, no new tyres. Stephen Varga, taking about 30 seconds. He runs in 41st. Everyone else choosing to run it long at the moment, including your race leader Jordan Ross, out to 2.8 seconds ahead of Wayne Walker. Still has Ken Latta, Mike Teliancic and Darren Lobb in pretty close contact. And a bit of gap to Scott Mackay, Matt Van der Kraan and Sean McNamara running together. Troy Stone Street and Dean Logsdale, another newcomer, completing the top 10.
Yeah, Logsdale's doing really well there, coming 10th at the moment as a newcomer in the series. You know, we know this is a very competitive series to be in, and he's doing a great job. And not letting Troy Stone Street in front run away too much. Mind you, by the looks of it, he does have Logan Barnett close behind to worry about. But we're looking at this man here, Jordan Ross, who, well, he's kind of just picking up where he left off last season. He's gapped second by nearly 3 seconds now and doesn't look like slowing down anytime soon. And I'm guessing when you've got fresh air like that, you don't want to pit early, you just want to keep on going. Because I think we're going to see a struggle to catch him tonight.
Yeah, and we're going to go to some smaller, tighter tracks throughout this season coming up as well. I think about Mid-Ohio, for example, which is almost half the length of Sebring here. So what he is going to have is very little lapped traffic for a long time. A lot of clean air out in front to work into around a large racetrack like this. Chad Lewis also pitting. But he's got the fastest lap of the race to his name. He had the pole to his name. He's got a nice lead to his name. It's certainly Ross the boss at the moment.
Yep, he is not looking like slowing down at the moment. But we do have the battle for second, so these guys have not let each other get away. So Wayne Walker, Kenneth Latta, Mike Taliancic and Darren Lobb all kind of just stuck in this. They're all just got enough gap between each other that there's not any big moves happening. But you can just see in the background there, Darren Lobb is looking, he's hunting, he's trying to put Mike Taliancic off. We know Taliancic is, as the name suggests of the series, an absolute veteran of the V8 supercar over many iterations on iRacing, so I don't think you're going to be able to scare him off his game, but that isn't stopping Darren from giving it a red hot crack.
Van der Kraan dropping on the timing column. Look like a connection thing or anything. I think there's some dramas going on. He's lit up the radio. He's back into 24th now, and he's got a complaint to race control, and that complaint is Sean McNamara behind him.
Oh.
Gee, I don't think... Did McNamara do a whole lot here? Obviously, Matt Van der Kraan thinks so. So this is at Cunningham. I mean, a bit.
Bit of a smooch on the rear there. We saw that at the hairpin as well, though. Like that light touched the back when the car's under load, and it just unloads them. So it'll be interesting to see how race control views that and if a penalty is going to come their way. But unfortunate for Matt van der Kraan, he was doing quite well to just drop like a stone all the way down to what was 24th a couple of minutes ago. Still 24th.
So new biggest mover inside of that top 10, and it's Logan Barnett. So he's a little off our radar, snuck into 8th place. Oh no. And on our radar, he snuck wide at turn 4, through the grass at turn 5, and then maybe on the rejoin made a little bit of contact here. So suddenly we say his name, and he shall appear. Logan Barnett. It's suddenly far more interesting for him, going wheel to wheel with Travis Hunt down the inside of turn 7 to get that spot just back in front of Travis Hunt and John Gallen.
Geez, what a gaggle we've got here. The commentator's curse is alive and well. Unfortunately for Logan Barnett with that one. Still up 6 for the race, though, and in the top 10, so good recovery there. But we have behind him... Oh, no, what's going on now, Logan? Logan, I think Daniel, we need to go off Logan, otherwise we're going to keep causing issues. This is the poor guy. Looks like he's just outbraked himself there, rejoined the track, but he's lost a bunch of positions from that gaggle of cars.
Once is unfortunate, twice is getting very, very suspicious. Both of us appear to have jinxed him this lap. And we're just seeing Travis Hunt get very sideways out of Tower Bend as he tried to accelerate out of there as well. So a few of them maybe struggling with what's a relatively low grip surface around here, particularly this half of the lap where it's sort of concrete, really. It's sort of a more modern paved racetrack from turn 4 around to Tower, but these parts of the racetrack, turn 1 and Sunset Bend, it's old concrete, and it's very old concrete, and it's very worn.
And very bumpy, and a little birdie told me, Mr. Haynes, that you yourself have done a race here at Sebring. Can you tell us about the bumps and how they feel to actually handle them?
They're twice as bumpy as they are on iRacing. Maybe that's because this iRacing scan dates from a decade and some ago, and like we said, entirely unrepaved the whole time. It gets worse and worse and worse year on year, and they say that's the shtick of the place. Got 2 drivers battling. We can go on board with the both of them. So Travis Hunt, who's racing from a sound stage, and John Gallen, who's racing from either underneath the house or a shed. Travis Hunt's currently telling his engineer he needs more snare in his headphones.
I was thinking I wanted to check out the mustache again. We got that view last season, but I guess he's in the thick of it. Maybe later today we can request that. But yeah, these guys are going at it. Travis looks very relaxed, doesn't he? John's very focused, and Travis, he's just nice and smooth, keeping it nice and clean. Which this is what I love about these zoom cameras. It's so awesome because you get to see how each driver tackles this supercar, and everyone does it differently. But Travis, cool, calm, collected. John, laser focused. Everyone's got their way of doing it.
As the kids would say, I think John Gallen is locked in the way that he's going about it. But he was a bit wide at Tower Turn, and that's a bad mistake to make because you need the camber to help you turn through there. A little bit like turn 2 Griffin's Bend at Mount Panorama in that way, where if you miss the apex a little bit, then you've really missed the boat. You need to be right up against the curb to maximise the camber, maximise the speed that you can carry through, and it's dropped John Gallen just a tiny bit further behind. We saw that lap 15 to 16 was really going to be the end of this opening 80-litre fuel window for everyone, and I guess we're trending towards that's what it looks like everyone's going to try to do, get to lap 15 before they make their pit stop. The few bucking that trend was we saw Sean McNamara head to pit lane to serve his drive-through penalty, and that's about it from inside the top 10.
Yeah, there are a few guys from further back. We talked about the damage that Tim Nicole had earlier, and that he pitted in, same with Stephen Varga. So I think that there's a bit of strategy where if you're that far back and you got damaged, whack some tyres on it, see where you can get to with clean air. But everyone here Yeah, it's interesting. Usually you would see a bit more of a split strategy, but everyone's just racing along. There's still some good battles going on out here. You know, we're right in the thick of it here in the battle for 16th. And that just means that when the time comes, we're going to have a bloody busy pit lane.
It's a bit of movement happening here around this group. Graphic earlier said Logan Barnett returning to Split 1. He was a Split 1 driver. Got put down into Split 2, and now he's been promoted back up into Split 1, and he was running inside of the top 10 until I jinxed him, you jinxed him, producer Daniel Yeaman jinxed him. He, carried a black cat underneath a ladder or something.
Yeah, this Thursday has not been his lucky day, unfortunately, and I'm happy with the cat under a ladder excuse, because that takes the pressure off us as the broadcast team, so we'll stick with that for now as we're looking at this battle for 10th, and we're focusing on Jeff Thomas now back in 15th, but he's still well and truly in the battle for 10th. Let me tell you, you can just look up the road there and you can see 10th position. That means you're in the battle. So he's right at the back of this here, and it creates an interesting situation. He's getting some good draft. And it's a little bit like, do you... oh, hang on. We're battling for second place here. Here we go. Look, look at that, getting way out of hand there, Wayne Walker. Kenneth Latta up into second there through Sunset Bend. So we've had a change for second on the podium. And now it's all to play for. Walker, Taliancic, lob. Taliancic down the inside. That is a send and a half there. And is he going to make it work? Can Walker keep it there for the next set of turns he's going to? They're going to go side by side here. Taliancic has another opportunity. Walker might have held him off here because he gets the inside for the next corner. He's done well there, David, but geez, these guys are fighting hard.
Yeah, Walker hops across the curb, slides in front of Mike Taliancic and blocks him, and Darren Lobb in. Ken Latta gets yet further up the road. Jordan Ross gets yet further up the road as well. So great news for Ken Latta then to see that happening in his mirror. Go on board with Taliancic wide, turn in, squaring up the exit of turn 7. Sort of a right-left kink, absolutely flat out here as you then square off for the 90-degree Cunningham corner braking zone here. Different lines happen here as well. We've seen some drivers stay really tight to the right-hand side to then try to flow through this complex, and others open up Cunningham a little bit more, but then need to be gentle with the throttle in the connecting roads that bring them back around to Tower.
It's very much a flow circuit, isn't it? If your flow gets disrupted through these connected sections, you can really risk dropping back. And in fact, here you can see that Taliancic just a little bit. It is hard being stuck in behind other cars, but as we speaking about stuck in behind other cars, there's a heap of them with nose to tail at the moment here, wriggling and trying to wrestle the thing. This is the battle for 25th, but that's not going to stop them. Wayne Sanderson at the front here with, sorry, that's McKnight. Apologies, at the front there, I think. And there we are. So he's 26. So now he's finally gotten his way through to a spot where he's got some clean air after that incident. A great recovery drive, by the way, to continue going up from where he was. But the guys behind, that certainly isn't sorted out as we just tick over sort of the 25% mark of this race, heading towards pit stops.
Yeah, so Sean McNamara took his drive-through penalty, and this is where it's fed him. Come on, mate. One hand on the wheel, please. He does seem a little disheartened by that, potentially. 35th. He's just in behind this group now and thinking, gee, this is a lot of traffic, and why the early stop is not something anyone's going for, because if you get fed into this kind of traffic, this is what you get fed into. But a few of them are going to go for an early stop now on lap 12. Sean McNamara, one of them, looking at all the traffic in front of him thinking, no thanks, but the traffic in front of him also heads to pit lane. So 2 Frog Leap juiced cars is Crisdale and Poynton, perhaps, and Sean McNamara.
Just 4 different teams, so we're not seeing any teamwork here, so to speak. These are 4 guys who are running their own race, all in the pits, all taking that first dump of fuel. And you're probably right, David, on your point about there not being enough. Probably there's not enough time in the race in those 10 laps to create a big enough gap that we have fresh air with such a big grid here as well. There's just cars everywhere on this circuit at this point.
So we look back at the leading group. Wayne Walker seems to have found his footing and gotten just a little bit closer back towards Ken Latta in the unending battle for second place, and Scott Mackay a little bit quicker than Darren Lobb, Mike Taliancic on the last lap, so he ranges in on this as well, having been Mr. a little bit no man's land, I think I called it earlier on. He's still keeping a watching eye on Ken Latta, Wayne Walker, Mike Taliancic, and Darren Lobb. Do we expect any of these to pit in reaction to those we've seen before, or just thinking that the fuel range with starting 80 litres might lead some thinking about pitting right now? Mackay staying tight. That's just the racing line for these cars. Very different to a GT3 car where you've got less horsepower but way more grip, and I put to you probably significantly more adjustable damping.
I would imagine so, and we know that these cars are, I think as the supercars commentators in the real world say, grip limited, and that's true in the sim as well. And when you hit those bumps and you're trying to get traction in a car that doesn't have traction control like GTs you were just talking about, David, it's not fun for driver or car, and can certainly lead to some nervous moments while you try and catch the thing and get your race back on track. We've got a few more pit stops happening here. Travis Hunt, Logan Barnett, Matt Vanderkran are all in the pits taking their first stops. So more and more of the field starting to cleanse through here. Looks like, so Craig Friend is the first of our pit stoppers, but I think that's because he had his drive-through. So I think Stephen Varga is still the leader of the stoppers at the moment. We'll see how that plays out over the next few laps as we get closer and closer to that first number.
Yeah, quick stop from Travis Hunt. I reckon he'll end up blending ahead there. So Travis Hunt, 25 seconds of fuel taken. He's well ahead of everyone else who's stopped already to this point. One, because he was running up towards the top 10, and two, because he's taken a 25-second stop when a lot of others have taken a 30-second first stop. Matt Vanderkran also ahead of Varga by the looks of things. Weird old pit exit here because there's just so much pavement. Because apparently landing a World War II bomber actually takes a bit of pavement.
I wouldn't have thought so. I heard the brakes were excellent on World War II bombers. I'm just kidding. We're watching Matt Vanderkran here, who's come out in front again of Varga. So he's actually put himself, for the time being anyway, in a nice little bit of clear air to get those tyres up to temperature, find his rhythm again. No other cars around him as the photographer continues to take, what a sure, excellent photos of these cars as we come through the hairpin here. This will be curious. I am curious to see where everyone flows out here. We've just got Wayne Walker is in the pits now from third. So Wayne Walker has just come in for his pit stop.
Yeah, so you're a keen photographer. How many photos do you reckon you'd end up taking in 250 kilometres of racing here at Sebring from that kind of position?
Oh, you could probably get a good 300 to 400 in a 250k race, because you want to get one of every car, but your photos never turn out perfect, so you just got to keep trying. And if there's 40 cars, mate, your finger won't come off the trigger.
Well, 42 times past you in 4 or 5 packs. You'll take 4 or 5 snaps of each car as it goes past if you're in your sports shooting mode. So, yeah, begin to work out the numbers. I reckon you'd need a big SD card amongst all of that. Lots more drivers pitting this time around as it's lap 14. We thought sort of 15, 16 might be the real end of it. Oh, there's Mr. Photographer. I think it was Mr. Photographer there on the outside of turn 7 near the hotel, near the swimming pool. Play some cornhole, get the steak special. Great spot to be. Now, who else is heading for pit entry this time around? We're looking at some drivers who've already pitted in Stephen Varga, so we knew it wasn't going to be him. Wayne Walker has come ahead of Travis Hunt as we would have expected. There's Jamie McKnight back there. He's going to blend in behind Stephen Varga, behind the rest. Here's Wayne Walker running in podium position previously, one of the first to stop from that pack, expecting Ken Latta and Jordan Ross soon.
Yeah, it's curious. I would have expected Ken and Mike to pit and respond to Wayne, because the more laps he can get out there on those fresh tyres, the more advantage he's going to have on Latta and Taliancic. So interesting here, but that yet again, that all comes back to you later in the race when you can stop a little bit later and put those fresh tyres on and run them to the end of the race. You'll put yourself in a far better position if you manage to stay close. And as we see here, Wayne Walker, leader of those two, have stopped. Makes sense coming in from second as we continue to wait to see. Scott Mackay looks like he's coming to the pit lane as well from 5th place. So those lead pack are just starting to cleanse themselves now as we get to that critical lap number you were talking about earlier, David.
Taking a look at what this week's meal specials are at the hotel at Turn 7, and they've got an extra cheesy cheeseburger with melted Swiss cheese, cheese sauce, dipping cheese on the side. Wow indeed. Okay, pit entry is the place to watch right now. Wayne Walker goes past it, but here's who's in. Scott Mackay, Darren Goosey. Oh, we're going to look at Darren Goosey's pit entry, I reckon, Brock.
Was it a bit loosey-goosey?
Well, the flag marshals decided it was so exciting they're going to cheer him on with a black flag.
It's the worst flag to get cheered on by. Here we go, having a look here. So, all looking normal at the moment. Darren Goosey's 72 kph on the entry. Oh, mate. Oh, the limiter didn't engage, so he's gone to hit the throttle and unfortunately sped up and not met the limiter. That is unfortunate.
So he's made a mistake there because he got down to the minimum speed required, and then you can see, so if he slows up and then accelerates again into the pit lane and it goes over speed and isn't caught by the safety net of the pit lane speed limiter that he thought he'd engaged, maybe it was the wrong button on the wheel. The race leader is in, Jordan Ross, and I expect you're going to see most of the field follow him, those that haven't stopped yet. It's Jordan Ross, reigning champion, pole sitter. He's led every lap so far today, but Ken Latta is going to pick one up because Latta stays out. Looks like Talyancic stays out. There's a few of them from that pack that are going to go one lap longer than race leader Jordan Ross, but Dean Logsdale and Troy Stonestreet are in.
Interesting strategy. O to be in the brain buckets of these guys. If you know, I think that they're almost in this position where the draft is helping, particularly like Talyancic and Lob behind. The draft is probably just dragging them along a bit. They can fuel save a little bit, but I'd expect to see them in the next lap or two. If Jordan Ross has come in, we're probably nearing the end of that fuel tank. The field should be relatively cleansed shortly. It really is only, I think at the moment now, we've just got 6 drivers. The top 6 haven't pitted yet, and I imagine we'll see them fairly soon. Jordan Ross out of the pits now as well, well and truly in the lead of those who have pitted so far. Wayne Walker with the fastest lap of the race now on those fresh boots. So Walker is actually not super far off Ross. I reckon he's made up a little bit of time with that earlier pit stop, just a couple of seconds there. Ross had that out to, I think, at least 3 or 4 seconds when Walker came into pits.
Massive discrepancy of fuel drop between Jordan Ross and Wayne Walker. So Walker's running a little bit light on those new tyres. That's helped his lap time. But Jordan Ross has been able to take significantly more fuel in a 2-stop race. You know, what you don't pay at stop number 1, you've got to pay at stop number 2.
The unfortunate dynamics of strategy and pit stops. Sometimes they can help you, sometimes they can bite. But look, we're looking here now. So this is the top 3 on the road. Still expecting them to come in and pit. These guys have been just about attached by a long rope with some magnets on either end of it. They haven't really gotten very far apart from each other. And I think there's probably an element of protecting tyres and playing the long game with these guys because they don't want to do anything silly now as we get... Oh, we've got Latta and Talyancic. Lob goes around for another lap.
Yes, that's very, very interesting. I think that's John Gallen maybe staying out in the background. Maybe 1 or 2. Nope, he's coming in. Darren Lobb stays out. I might have been confused by a lapped car. So the question is, what do these guys on the pit lane right now do? Do they take a lot of fuel now and then look real hot if a safety car comes out in this middle pack, or do they try to run it a little bit shorter, a little bit lighter, and try to get up towards Jordan Ross and contend with him? Here is Ross right now. Wayne Walker not too far behind. Fuel just now done for Mike Teliancic, who'll drop down off the jacks and begin rolling to pit exit. Ken Latta, what a stop he is having here. Much more fuel for Ken Latta, so he's going to blend much further behind that. The driver who was in second.
Yeah, this is really interesting to see, and I think you were just talking about which strategy is better, and well, Latta has decided to take on the burden of the scientific experiment and show us Latta and Taliancic. So this will be really interesting to see how this all pans out. Obviously, Walker there, Taliancic is effective third at the moment, pending Lob's pit. I just saw Scott Mackay has gotten past Kenneth Latta as well. Partially, I imagine, due to Latta being in the pits for longer, but again, that shows you a negative effect of fueling more in this first stop. You do lose track position, hopefully to gain back at the end of the race, depending on what else happens over the next 20-odd laps.
Meatball flag out for Stewie Hall at the moment. He might have had that one a little while. Darren Lobb and Chris Miller, the two drivers to go longer than all. Miller, I think, just to try to overcut a bunch of the traffic he found himself in after his lap 1 incident. So he's hoping that this gives him the clean air to demonstrate the pace that he thinks he has. Should be pit stop time for Darren Lobb. He's in the lane, now in his pit stall. And the low end of fuel drops about 25 seconds. The higher end that we've seen is somewhere around 33, 34 seconds. So I wonder which one Darren Lobb will go for. Chris Miller is also going to join him on the pit lane here. I think it's a 72 kilometre an hour pit lane speed. It sure is.
Which is, by most pit lane standards, you still feel like you're going pretty quick even after being on a race car circuit. So this will be interesting for Miller. It looked really nice because he had he was up 25 for a second there in second place, but of course that'll change now he's had the pits. Jordan Ross has just fired back at Wayne Walker and managed to get that fastest lap back. We were probably expecting that. Replay here with Tim Nicole. He's in the wars tonight. We'll see what's going to happen here. All's well and ends well here. Oh no! Oi! Was that Craig Friend behind him also having a shocker of a night here? My goodness, guys. Survive, make it to the end, yeah. So no malice intended here. It looks like Craig just locked the rears, and unfortunately that's meant that Tim's had to go for a bit of a ride in the dirt and mow the lawn.
Do you get the idea both of them got in there a little deep, to be honest?
Oh, one locked the fronts and the other locked the rears. It was quite a beautiful, duo. Synchronized duo.
Living together in perfect harmony, as it was. So everyone has made one of two compulsory pit stops now. Tim Nicol drops in behind Craig Friend. In the end, Darren Lobb is behind Ken Latta, so has taken a similar amount of fuel, I think, to Ken Latta, but both of them fair chunk behind Mike Teliancic and Wayne Walker at this stage of the race. So I put to you, keep an eye on the gap, Darren Lobb to Mike Teliancic, because if that closes in this phase of the race, then Lobb or Ken Latta could probably jump them at the second stop, again knowing that pain at the first stop will be reward at the second and vice versa.
So do you reckon here, that the smart play would be, instead of these two fighting each other, if they can get close enough, just use the draft and help push each other up the track? They've got fresher tyres and they will have to put on less fuel at the next stop. So if they can work together and use that pace, they've got some clear track in front of them. I reckon that's the play to get up there a bit further and then battle it all out after the second pit stop. May have just committed a racing sin there by saying people who aren't from the same team can work together, but trust me, it can happen sometimes.
I'm going to show the kind of nerd that I am. What was I listening to? A podcast the other day where someone said alliances are formed not by shared values but by shared objectives.
Truer words have never been spoken, my friend. Truer words.
So, as both of them are currently not in podium positions, if they have a shared objective of trying to finish on the podium, it may not matter if they're the best of buddies or teammates or, you know, what preferences in music they share. They share a common objective that they can work together towards.
Absolutely, and this will be an interesting one to watch because, once we get past that second pit stop, the common objective then becomes the problem they need to figure out. But for now, it's helping drive them up. And I mean, look, Lob is right on ladder here, so we'll have to see what he does because he hasn't really made it look like he wants to throw some moves or anything. He's just sticking it in there, putting in some good laps. And just from race control as well, we've seen no further action between Nicole and Friend from that previous accident where Friend locked the rears. So that's just a racing incident. Nothing was ever going to come from that one. But we're in this phase of the race now, David, where I feel everyone's conserving a little bit. Keep the tyres fresh. Don't use too much fuel. We just need to make it to that second stop, and then we can really, let the dogs out.
So after that first round of pit stops, how about some big movers? Travis Hunt to 8th, Jeff Thomas to 10th, David Nash 13 positions gained to 12th, Christian Smart 15 positions gained to 18th, and a few of those with some decent looking pit stop times as well. There's your most positions gained graphic. Stephen Varga, Christian Smart, Chad Lewis, David Nash and Scott McCune at the moment. You can never read too much into it until the final pit stop has been made. But something to think about, particularly with anyone who's got a pit stop time of over 30 seconds, which I believe is Christian Smart. So it's looking good for this fishy.
Well, that's an excellent effort by Smart so far with a 32-second pit stop as well. He's put himself in a really great position for that second stop, and hopefully only to gain more positions, like 18th and looking racy for even more. That's exactly what you want midway through a 250k race. I love his steering wheel as well, just quietly.
It's got the shift lights, it's got the gear indicator, he's got plenty of buttons if he needs them, with another little dash behind it. Whoa, did he cop a little bit from behind there, potentially? Mark Poynton's the driver right behind him, and I mean right behind him. And now down his inside. I think he didn't do that with his right foot. I think he did that with a little bit of a hello on his rear bumper out of the turn 7 hairpin and on their way to Cunningham Corner. So now he's only up 14 positions.
Only. And here we have a replay. Perfect look back at Mark Ponton here, and you were not. No, he's done it himself. He's just done it. He's always got some curve and grass there, and the rear's just let go on him, giving Mark the perfect opportunity to shoot down the inside. But sorry, Mr. Ponton. We might have thrown a little bit of shade your way there for half a second, but he's just gotten loose on the change of the direction there.
Yeah. I think it's that high curve on the right-hand side. You normally wouldn't touch it, but he's got just a little bit of it, and it's cracked him sideways. So up into the tallest gear he goes, almost getting a little bit of that 7,500 RPM rev limiter at the end of the Ullman Straight. Christian Smart, he's topped out the speed trap at 271 k's an hour there. Carries a bit of speed out of Sunset Bend on the front straight, where you expect to see him reach pretty similar speed up into 6th gear with a tiny bit of a toe, 260-ish, before he needs to slow it down. You're always looking for, where's my reference marker up against that fence? In this case, it's an orange cone. We've actually installed some slightly more higher tech. Like brake markers can be mounted up against the wall, but at the apex point of turn 1.
Yeah, it is difficult with like the white tar, like the white concrete and the white walls. Like it is hard to pick your turning point there. And the real hard part is the wall. It's a bit like Forest Elbow at Bathurst. It juts out at you. So when you turn, if you just nick it, you're going to punch your front left out, and it's good night, Irene. You're done. It's always you're playing a bit of a game of chicken with the wall and seeing how close you can get before you hit it. I reckon through turn 1 here at Sebring.
So So as Smart's lost that position to Mark Poynton, Poynton's closing in a little further on Chris Burridge and Justin McLean. Fair bit of curb there for Poynton. He gets away with it.
Yeah, Smart definitely falling off here now. We were singing his praises and still up 14 is excellent, but it seems up ahead here. Poynton has some speed and he's ready and willing to use it as he ranges up on the cars in front there.
Not like the tyres are that old for Christian Smart. He didn't go for a massive whopping undercut to try to gain some of those positions. His tyres 7 laps old, while the race leader's tyres are 6 laps old, while Mark Poynton's tyres are 5 laps old. No great differences there. He's just, at this point, not carrying as much speed as Poynton. They'll go through Sunset Bend, and with 21 laps completed and 21 to go, that's 125 kilometres of racing done. And the halfway point of the opening race of the new season for RaceKraft V8 Vets. We cast our eyes a little further down the field to Dan Hall and Greg Sharp.
Dan Hall up 7 and looking to make more progress. Greg Sharp down 16 and looking to gain back some of the losses from these first 22 laps. So we'll see what they can do here. And here we go. We've got their cameras as well by the looks of it. So as I said, look at that. Geez, if that's Dan Hall on the left, that is an excellent setup. My goodness. Look at the screen. Sorry, you called yourself a nerd before, David. I'm a sim racing nerd. I see equipment that I love and I can't help but talk about it. But it's very cool to see these in-car views as they're battling it out there on track. And two very different ways of going racing. The big sort of three monitors together with the blenders in the middle there versus VR. Very different ways of going sim racing these days.
Best bit of kit that Greg Sharp has got is a big red button. You can never go wrong if you've got a big red button. But yeah, Dan Hall's got my favourite timing going on there, which is JRT, Joel Real Timing. So what he can see is around him the tyre age of everyone else, how much fuel they've taken. If he comes up behind someone and he knows that they've taken quite a bit less fuel than him, then maybe he doesn't need to push them too hard, and he'll know what advantage or disadvantage his strategy's got him at compared to everyone else.
Yeah.
What if he's got his configured similar to my screen? Got stint lengths. I've got the club up, which tells me people's nationality, which is very useful when you're commentating, to be like, oh yes, that does look like an Italian name with Club Italia.
I think that's a pretty safe bet at that point when...
Which is to say, everyone in this race is Club Australia New Zealand, with the exception of Stacey Boyd, who is New York.
Way, watch out.
And probably racing from New York with 260 ping. So it all checks out. And it's up to you, New York, New York.
And it's 6:30 a.m. nonetheless. That is commitment to the cause on a Thursday to be up racing. But obviously there is a significant love for iRacing, sim racing, and the V8 Veterans Series. So he's out here 8 positions up as well. So a good run at the moment to get to 35th from a starting position at 43rd. So just going at it, having some fun, starting the day off right with some V8 supercars, and then you can roll into the rest of it with your head held high that you had a good race.
They don't mind a little bit of AM motorsports in New York either. I watched a Grand Prix live from a bar in Manhattan that was open at 8 a.m. to show a Grand Prix on Sunday morning. People just having a Guinness 8:30 a.m. cheering on Forza Ferrari. So what do you know?
Be honest, David, did you have a beer or a coffee? It's an important question.
I had a big breakfast.
Oh, well, you can't. That's about the most Aussie thing you could do in a bar. Well done. I give you my approval on that strategy.
I think I might have waited till about halfway through the race before I then ordered a Guinness to go along with it. Filer in Manhattan near Madison Square Gardens and New York Penn Station. Very popular place full of F1 fans on Sunday mornings. He's not having a Guinness there. He's having himself something else. Stacey Boyd.
Turning into a fire-breathing dragon. fueling him through the race. And we've just got the stat up there as well, the 41st V8 Vet start for him tonight. So that's a damn good innings as well.
Based on previously what I've seen in supercars racing, I've got to assume that he's the white smoke coming out means he's blown his power steering pump.
Oh, he's in for a rough night then. If that's the case now, with 18 laps to go, you got a long old race ahead of you with all these bumps that the power steering's gone.
Bit of Nick Percat areas on that one. So we should be just about approaching the critical lap number to stop and get home, but I'm not sure anyone's going to be too keen on it. Now, Stephen Varga had so Stephen Varga's making his honest second stop now. He'll be the first driver, potentially.
He stopped very early, though, didn't he, to begin with?
Sean McNamara has been through twice, but one of those was a drive-through penalty for Stephen Varga. I think this is it. His stops are done.
All right, Varga's free to race. There's no strategy. There probably won't be too much fuel saving depending on how much he's put in. It's just balls to the wall, get this thing home and pick up as many positions as you can. He's only 2 down now on where he started, even with pitting and kind of losing a few positions. So he's put himself in a good position to use those tyres a little bit and see where he can get to with, I think, is that Michael Stewart just ahead of him? So, yes, it is. So if he can get past Michael quickly, he should have some nice clear track to work that Camaro in.
Stewart only made the one stop so far. You can see he is way down on where he qualified, unfortunately. Now, he's so helpful to you and I because he's put the red dot on Sebring. It's just above Daytona. Just below VIR. Grand West configuration to the bottom right of Road Atlanta, where I think that's an old config with the more wide open turn 10 chicane.
I reckon this is a fun game. We gotta play this all season long. Wherever we're racing, if the track's on here, the red dot moves.
Yeah, no, he does it. Yeah, he's good. He's good as Michael Stewart, and we're just to the right of what looks like Barber Motorsports Park there on his map. I think the other parts of the wall art may be new. Alongside, there've been the blade for Balin. So I don't know if that's got to do with the racetracks or it's got to do with the foundation. He's under some pressure right now from a 2-stopping and hard-charging Stephen Varga.
Yeah, Varga's not mucking around here. He wants to make this progress. You know, it only takes a few laps for those tyres to really start to hurt behind another car. So he is he's trying to find a way through, but Stewart's just running his race, and that's exactly what you're allowed to do. So we'll see if he can find a way to work his way through over the next coming lap here. But this will be interesting as the pit stops start to run through. You know, we can see Dan Hall's in. We've had a couple more, but still very few. This is all the early stoppers starting to come in and cleanse themselves. But we did have those late stoppers that are really only 10 laps into their stint, so they can go a lot deeper. But the key to avoiding, the key here is you don't want to run too far, and then you actually don't have time to use those tyres and make up any advantages that you might get from that. So very interesting to see. Stewart is defending this, even though I think, he's only had one stop at the moment. So no, he's. So it looks like Michael, actually, to correct ourselves, is he has done his 2 stops. So this is for position. As we have Scott Mackay come in. Now, Scott was running fairly high up on he was around that 5th, right there with ladder and lob. So this is the lead. This is the leader starting to come in. So if we look at the small number in white next to the drivers' names right now, this is when they last came into the pits. So Stewart last came in on lap 15, and we've been told that lap 16 was the critical lap. You could fuel right up and get to the end. So this is, well, it's running it close. to put it frankly, it is running it close at the moment.
He's only stopped once, and it's a 2 compulsory pit stop. So he's. You'll see, I'm only seeing one. I'm only seeing one pit stop for Michael Stewart, but apparently other timing's got to. Look, honestly, for him to be back here in 40th place, I guess it makes sense he maybe has stopped twice, as Stephen Varga has as well. But
very early to get your 2 stops out of the way. Like last stop 15, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he needs a 3rd stop or whether he's just trying to fuel save this thing to the finish. Dramas for Bruce Tannock here. He's got an iRacing black flag. He's gone off track and exceeded the incident point limit. So not disqualified, but I believe we'll have to serve a drive-through now as punishment for this. And Sebring is actually a track that it's pretty easy to get off tracks at, so you do need to be a bit careful. So I think we're going to see here the offending off-track exit of turn 1. That's usually a... Yep, that's it. He's just tagged it off there enough. We'll stay on board and just see. Did he have a slide or anything? Or is it just these cars like to push out? Yeah, look at that. That right side of the car was just about off that curb.
It's where the curb ends as well, because normally it's sort of measured from a centre point, and you've got to keep the centre point of the car above the pavement. So the centre point of the car might have been above the curb, and then the curb ends, and he hasn't got back to the pavement in time. And 17 incident points and a drive-through. Doesn't matter what they're for or how you've got them. 17x and you are headed for a drive-through. Bruce Tannock is one of those. He's just served it now. We also saw some other excitement for Bruce Tannock in this race that might have also led to a couple more. David Nash, I think that's his 2nd stop done as well. So he's looking for a little bit of a tyre undercut on some of the guys that he is racing against. You can see a whole heap of other drivers through the lane making 2nd stops as well. Rob Crisdale, Darren Crosby, Greg Sharp.
So this will be interesting to see. So Scott Mackay has also made his final stop, I believe. So he might be trying to do the tyre undercut strategy and see if he can get a bit of distance between himself and the likes of Talianchich, Walker, Ladder and Lobb. Although right now, hey, who's off in the foreground there? That was a big off. Stephen Kennedy. That was a big one. Looks like he might have actually kept it off the wall. Oh, but he's slow. He's balking them here. Oh, geez, you just see that. You're just waiting for an incident to happen. But he looks like he's back up to racing speed here. But Stephen Kennedy, Chris Miller, Scott Mackay and Stacey Boyd.
Miller got himself a slowdown penalty. He jumped way too much to the curb. And so probably off the exit of the corner here, Chris Miller will pull to one side. And Scott Mackay, Stacey Boyd, more pace. Might get past. What does Miller do? He might be just cracking the throttle a little bit here. I wonder if Scott Mackay smells it, because the slowdown penalty is still there and still there and still there for Chris Miller. As he goes a little bit wide through Sunset Bend, Scott Mackay gets his nose underneath. The slowdown penalty is still there for Chris Miller, who just clears it, heading to pit entry. Goes a handful of drivers. Yep.
Scott Mackay couldn't ask for a better opportunity to sneak past him there. Like he needs to be able to. Oh, geez, he's fighting him back though. Come on, guys, let's not be too silly here. Ooh, yep, that's one way to close the door. Hard, fair racing here in the V8 Veterans. It's what we like to see, but looks like that is now all sorted out. Scott Mackay ahead of Chris Miller here, and he will hope to run away and use that tyre advantage. Even that battle there will have cost him something in that battle for the top 5. at that gap. Mackay's already pulled. He's he's half a second up the road here now already.
Yeah, this is the thing that Mackay will have a bit of a tyre undercut having completed his second stop, his 2 compulsory pit stops, but now he's amongst some of these drivers that haven't made their second stops, and that's where he goes and loses the time. Drivers pitting from the lead and from up front. Mike Talyancic, Wayne Walker pits from second. Jordan Ross continues. Ken Latta continues. Darren Lobb continues.
I heard someone hit a wall in the background. The unmistakable iRacing crunch. Go back through turn 1 again now, so it's battle for 7. Justin McLean, Christopher Burridge and Mark Poynton. A little bit spread out here, but again we're just waiting on strategies. And here we go, Talyancic and I believe that was Walker, wasn't it, coming out together here, filing back into a little bit of traffic and
you
miles
see how much
ahead.
Mackay's lost from the traffic because he's going to blend way behind Talyancic and Walker. Talyancic remains ahead of Walker. Jamie McKnight in between them still needs to make a second stop. Highest running driver to have cleared 2 compulsory pit stops right now is this driver, Mike Talyancic.
Yeah, so this will be interesting now. These are kind of these guys who pitted in that wasn't the early window, it wasn't the late window, it was just kind of in the middle. So, hey, look at this. The 2 guys we were talking about, Latta and Lobb, still just chip it away here out on track. That distance hasn't really changed in the better part of the last 10 laps, but they're might be working together, might not, but they've got clear track ahead of them, which is exactly what they would want right now to execute this later pitting strategy.
And here comes Ken Latta. Darren Lobb continues on, but Ken Latta is headed for pit lane. He's probably seen a few of his key rivals for a podium place stop and decided to just cover them off at this phase. Latta, one of the drivers who took more fuel at the first stop, have a pretty quick one this time. Troy Stonestreet and Dean Logsdale also pit. Taking a look at Justin McLean here with Burridge and Poynton just behind him. Did not go to pit lane, but also did not track all the way out of Sunset Bend. Stacey Boyd's got a black flag, unfortunately. So Ken Latta merges behind Wayne Walker and Mike Talyancic. We look at Stacey Boyd. There's one more cone you've got to go around the outside of on pit exit. Just one more.
It's pretty impressive. He's managed to actually split the 2 cones. Like, that's the precision driving. It's just a shame that it's not, you've got to go around the last cone, not between the 2. Points for style, though. Oh.
Not a great outlap at all, it seems like, unfortunately, for Stacey Boyd.
No, that is not what you want to see. So he'll have to go serve a drive-through. We've seen a few of those tonight. The iRacing rules catching people out, whether it's speeding in the pits or the incident limit, that there with Stacey. So you've got to remember, while V8 veterans have their own rules, iRacing, those rules are the law, and you can't break the law of iRacing. As Jordan Ross is now in the pits, so he will complete his pit strategy for the night, with Lobb and McLean and Poynton and Gallen all going around by the looks of it for another lap.
Darren Lobb went super long in the first stint, so it would make sense if he thinks about going long in this stint as well. He'll go through and lead a lap now, with Ross making his second stop. Next highest running car to have made 2 is Mike Talyancic, and then Wayne Walker. It's Jordan Ross, so dominant in qualifying in the opening stint of the race, and led most of the way. Now he'll have worked out his pit exit handily. Stays well wide on that blend as he comes back out, leader of cars to have stopped.
A little awkward here behind Justin McLean, who hasn't stopped just yet. I'm sure Jordan will be able to get past him here, and look at that, he's already looking at getting a run on even cold, fresh tyres, and it's like McLean just about standing still as they come around there. Smart driving by everyone there. McLean knows this isn't his race, and Jordan's just trying to get back to the lead where he was before, so well done there.
Going to have a look at Rob Crisdale of Frogleap Juiced Racing. At turn 7, there's a spinner in front of him that tags him and has him absolutely backwards at the exit of turn 7, and he says nope and gets out of there. And it's Chad Lewis getting sideways on the exit of the corner, then leads to the trouble. This is the onboard with Lewis, so he's locked up super early on the way in. What he doesn't do is hold the brake.
Definitely an awkward one there, and oh geez, what have we got from Scott McCune here out in the marbles? Oh, as he comes around, oh that was good avoidance there. Like, I mean, good on them for getting off the track and doing that. Good on Crisdale for doing his spin, but Scott McCune as well avoiding the drama there and not getting caught up, which is great because you never want to see someone else's race through with an incident like that. But he's involved in a big battle pack as well, so I'm sure his heart rate's up as now the leader of the race, Darren Lobb, is in the pit. So probably a little earlier than we expected, but equally you don't want to waste those tyres. Justin McLean in, so now you can put on a fresh set for 10 laps and just do basically qualifying laps to the end of this thing.
Yeah, Darren Lobb versus Wayne Walker, Ken Latter is going to be interesting to see. Darren Lobb's been a master of the fuel saving and the fuel strategy in previous races that we've seen. Took a win at Phillip Island last season that involved really, that's a high tyre wear circuit, and he really managed it very, very well. He's ahead of Latter, and he's just behind Wayne Walker.
And not by much either. Like it's tight. You know, Taliancic, Walker, Lobb, Ladder. This is turning into quite the nice battle pack towards the end of this race, I reckon. This is McLean blending back in at the moment. He was up in second behind Lobb before that set of pit stops. So now he's kind of washed out and gone back to 18th, but still racing hard, blended right back into a pack, which is often the hardest way to get back into racing when you've got cold tyres, to have to race your heart out against guys who have hot tyres that are ready to make moves.
You ever wake up with a water leak or something on fire and you need to switch on real quick? It's kind of like that, in a way. I've woken up one time with a wild animal inside my house. That's the sort of thing that gets you up and going in a hurry. So let's have a look at Jeff Thomas. On his third monitor, he's got what looks like a relative box, what looks like Discord, and it's the horizontal ticker and then free space in the top right. No.
We've got Discord, relative, ticker. Race lab overlays.
And that desktop background on the top is also his profile picture on Discord as well with the motorbike.
You have a funny feeling he's got a soft spot for that motorbike in one way or another, but he certainly doesn't with those race lab overlays. I use race labs myself and absolutely love it, but he he uses them heavily. He makes the most out of his money should he pay the subscription fee to get all the information he can to drive this thing and make sure he knows the race situation, which is hard. We don't have a Formula One team behind us trying to do it. We just have things like Race Labs or iRelay powering our strategy.
You think Jeff Thomas is on Plan C, extend by 2 laps? Maybe not. He's in behind this group.
I think he's on the, oh no, I should pit now strategy. The guy in front of me just did. That's usually my strategy anyway in races like this. As we look now, big battle here with Lob and Walker. Walker has made the move and gotten past Lob here. Oh, Walker getting loose. Not sure if Lob got into the rear of him, but they'll play on here. Lob's going to try get a run around the outside. This will be hard. He's going to stick it there. He's going to try. He's got his nose in. This is brave stuff. Look at this. Oh, and he spun him. No, they've nearly spun each other. Oh, that's not what you want to see.
So Ken Latta gets close. Somehow both of them have avoided any kind of slowdown penalty or cut or anything like that. Ken Latta with speed onto the Ullman straight. In behind Wayne Walker is going to pull out of the toe. Darren Lobb, after all of that, has ended up ahead of Wayne Walker. And Ken Latta will also look to sneak through. Jordan Ross leads the race 11 seconds from John Gallen, who's now going to stop. So Taliancic and Lobb are going to go through into the podium places. But there might be a little bit of feeling about Wayne Walker versus Darren Lobb, and yes indeed, Wayne Walker has a couple of feelings about that.
So here we have a replay here. So this is Lobb and Walker before that incident, battling it out very close, coming down to the hairpin here. And they were still nice and close to Taliancic, as we mentioned earlier. So this has all led to Taliancic is running away laughing at the moment in second. And these guys have fallen right off him with not too many laps left to go in this thing. So all's looking good here, all's looking good here. We're all friends, just having a friendly iRacing race.
Big front lock up from Lobb. Wayne Walker gets back in front. So they've swapped 3 times on this lap then. Wow, so Lobb gets ahead, Wayne Walker gets him back. There's a bit of contact, Lobb gets him back again. They lose touch with Mike Taliancic, second place, the final stint of this race.
Interesting, yeah. Taliancic is going to be feeling pretty good now with 3 seconds to Lobb, and Lobb with those, like the lock up and then the half spin as well. Those tyres are going to be, they should have been in awesome condition. They won't be in the best condition now with that. So he's got to manage that thing a little bit. And here we see Jordan Ross out front by 15 seconds. That is a massive gap, and he's done really well to pull that on Taliancic in second place. And I think this is where we're used to seeing Mike. I know last season when I commentated, he had a race or two that wasn't so good, but we know he is a great driver. And I might point out as well, I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, David, it's Synergy Sim Racing 1-2.
Just looks at it at the moment. Chad Lewis picks up a drive-through penalty for contact with Crisdale. We saw that at turn 7. And when we saw the onboard from Chad Lewis, he was full lock counter steering for a long time before he then hit the other drive. There was a point where he should have realised he'd lost it and not continue rolling, I think, is sort of the basis of the penalty.
I'd agree, David. I think that it's not an easy one for the race control to deliberate, because it was just a spin at the end of the day, but the fact he kept his foot in it when it was probably a case of the car's gone, I reckon that would have been the factor that sunk that boat and got him that drive-through penalty. I don't envy race control. They've got to make the hard decisions.
Chad Lewis is taking that drive-through penalty right now. We look at Justin McLean trying to hold off Christian Smart, trying to hold off Chris Burridge. McLean runs wide out of turn 7. Super difficult traction zone for that hairpin, not just because it's slow and tight, but because it's immediately followed by a chicane that kind of makes it one line on the exit there as well.
Exactly, with dirt surrounding you as well, where there's no traction to be gained in these curves. It's excuse me, sorry. It is a fun circuit, but it's a difficult circuit, and the overtaking opportunities as well around here. Despite the fact you might think there are heaps, the track closes up a lot at certain locations, and turn 7, the hairpin, is one of those areas where you lose a lot of your space when you're trying to go for a move. You've got to be really clinical about getting it done right without hurting anybody else's races. We're on board with Christopher Burridge here, coming around to go to the runway to Sunset Bend, the old World War II runway, taxiways, as he loses, they're both getting in the grass and losing a bit of traction there as we reach up towards what will probably be around 270k an hour to come with a bumpy Sunset Bend. There you go, 271 as they rocket on through here to start their lap 36.
I think the rev limiter in the highest gear is about 271 k's an hour, because that's what everyone is doing when they get a tow down the Ullman Straight. Perhaps that's taking away the passing opportunity into Sunset Bend just a little bit. Seems to be the only place they're hitting the limiter. A little wide of the apex from Smart. Burridge a little tidier with that line through turn 1. Tough to find any visual reference points, not just for the apex, but for the track out point, where the track suddenly goes from very, very wide to a little bit narrower on the exit.
Yeah, for sure. And as I said earlier, this track is a driver's track. It really... whatever car you drive around here, it challenges your skills to get it right with the differing curbs. As you said, the track that tightens up with the turns that are hard to get your visual cues, and that's what races all use, visual cues. So we're looking at Scott Mackay here. Now, this is the battle for 6th. Scott probably would have hoped for a little bit better than this with his strategy to try and get through, but as you mentioned earlier, David, those battles did hurt him a bit. But in saying that, he's still +1 on where he started, so still a damn good effort to be up there. But he does have Troy Stone Street and Dean Logsdale to worry about behind him, who are only a few tenths behind, as we're really coming around to the final stages of this race. So the question is, can he hold on to 6th, particularly with that earlier stop? You know, he's going to be on tyres that are a little bit older than, in fact, 4 laps older than these guys. So they've got a little bit more wear on them. Can he put on a defensive masterclass and keep 6th position?
Question to ask with 6 more laps to go. Underneath the bridge at Sunset Bend, onto the pit straight, a little bit wide, trying to use the most of the camber there with Troy Stone Street just behind us. Everyone taking a really sort of straight exit out of Sunset Bend in these cars. I pointed out how it differs from sort of lower horsepower, higher grip cars where you make... Oh! That's what happens when you get too wide.
We didn't need a demonstration. He's recovered that well.
Gee. Now, has he got any help here at all? Or has he just run it a bit wide and caught a seam in the concrete?
Here we go. How's this for a camera view? I reckon if that camera if they applied the same damage model to cameras as they did cars in iRacing, that one would be gone and the bill would be sent to Michael Whiting.
Yeah, it's done a bit on that camera.
There you go.
Everyone else giving it more space, more respect.
yeah, not quite wanting to play chicken with the ball.
Say that.
There you go, back at Michael Whiting and co around him. Michael looks like he's actually gotten away with one there, David. He's still driving the car. He's not dropping, hasn't gone to the pits. So usually when you hit a concrete wall, it spells bad things, but Michael seems to have has gotten away with one.
So it seems. Glancing blow with the concrete, even if it was at super high speed. Now onto the on the straight, you see Matt van der Kraan under some pressure from John Gallen. 12th and 13th position here. Gallen shows his nose and then backs out of it to the inside of Sunset Bend. Like I was saying, all of them sort of stay very tight to the apex for a long way around Sunset Bend before trying to shake a really straight exit. GT3 cars, single-seater cars, other higher downforce cars take a far more sweeping arc out wide, carrying momentum. These cars are all about their horsepower and when you can use it, which is trying to take a straight line exit out of the corners.
Yeah, it is fascinating, isn't it, when you come to a circuit like this and you get to see those differences. Like, I mean, I'm sure most people watching and driving have driven a supercar or seen a supercar at Sebring versus what those Formula cars and sports car, and it really does highlight, a circuit like this really highlights those differences. Bathurst, for example, is one where, so you've just got, I think this is a lapped car, excuse me, Bathurst is one of those tracks where you've got to take the same lap, they're the same, line regardless, because there is only the one, as the car goes wide there as well. But Sebring, it differs car to car, so it really does make a difference, which these cars are showing off at the moment. As Dan Hall right now, I believe we've got Taliancic behind him, so he's been lapped by Jordan Ross already. Taliancic would have taken a deep breath looking at that loss for Dan Hall, thinking please go away, and he's also been given the black flag for incident limit.
Yeah, so maybe running wide there, he's got himself one more and he's going to have to serve a drive-through. We're going to take a look. This is where production thinks it's come from. Oh, yeah, well, that'd do it. Dan Hall's mowing gives him one incident point and it gives him a black flag. And also sees him lapsed by Mike Taliancic, as you said. 4 to go as this group cross the start-finish line. Jordan Ross with a 16-second lead, continually extending over Taliancic. Doesn't seem like Darren Lobb's making any great inroads. Gigantic inroads into Taliancic. Closest battle inside of the top 10 is these two. It's Scott Mackay and it's Troy Stonestreet.
Yeah, Stonestreet keeping him honest with a few laps to go here. Like that, Scott Mackay want to get this position. He's up one. The strategy probably hasn't worked out exactly how he would have liked it to. So now it's about lasting these last sort of 3.5 laps now and keeping Stonestreet behind him. But I tell you what, Troy is looking racy. Like whenever he's got an opportunity to kind of just show the nose and let Scott know he's there, he's doing it. We're talking a matter of a few tenths here, particularly with Logsdale dropping off the back of Stonestreet. Troy's got nothing to worry about. He's just got Scott right ahead, no rearview mirror action, and he's going all for it.
Sounds like if you asked someone if they were Scottish, they'd reply, Scott Mackay.
Oh, David. I'm going to use that one at work tomorrow.
Steal my material. Fair enough. I'll take it as a very, very sincere compliment. Looks like a new livery for some of these Phoenix guys. So David Nash in a slightly different paint to last season. Still in a Camaro though. He's ahead of Matt van der Kraan, who might have touched up his paint a little bit, but still in a Mustang. Ahead of John Gallen, ahead of Michael Whiting, ahead of Justin McLean in this pack. David Nash has been one of the big movers of the race. Now everyone's made their second pit stop. He's plus 14, Christian Smart's plus 17, Mark Poynton's plus 14. I think what we've seen with the track limits around here, the incident points it's been giving people, the number of drive-throughs that have been getting, I think it would have made the 3 laps of qualifying difficult, because with how long the lap is here, they might have struggled to get their 3 flying laps in, and very many of them might have had 1 or 2 of their laps invalidated by track limits in all the places that we've seen them in race conditions, also picking up track limits and incident points.
Absolutely, David. I think you're bang on there, and that's in the race you're obviously given a little bit more leeway, but in qualifying, and off track means you're done. That lap doesn't count, and it is a long lap around here in these supercars. Even though they can go mighty fast, it is still a 6K circuit. So you're probably right. We're seeing some of these guys come through, like Christian Smart, for example, is one that you would usually expect to qualify a bit further up the grid, and he is showing that he deserves to be up 17 places up from where he is and making that work. So we'll see how next week pans out as well at that track there, and obviously that'll make qualifying a bit easier. But here it's been really interesting to see that incident limit catch people out. Now, out of curiosity, I'm sorry I don't know this, but what is the incident limit in 17? 17, okay, so that's the iRacing incident limit, which makes things harder because it's not much for a long race like this.
No, but I think everyone's already very incentivized to try to not pick up too many incident points. There's, your regular points that you pick up for your finishing position, but there's also a number of bonus points to be had. So for things like the pole position, like leading the most laps, like joining the Zoom call with your webcam, but also for having 0 incident points, or I think if you only have 1, there's also a bonus point around 4 to that one as well. So everyone's well incentivized to try to pick that up. This is the point scheme. Finish with 0 incidents, plus 3 points. There you go.
And you know what? In a championship where any point matters, you'd be trying to get as many of these as you can. And I can see why some people want to join the Zoom call. It's very cool for us, but equally getting that extra point for each of the races, it makes a difference come the end of the season.
It's pretty standard from the up to 48 finishing positions, but then plus 1 pole position, plus 1 fastest lap, plus 3 finish with 0 incidents, lead any lap, lead the most laps, join the Zoom call. And that's why Jungle Skogbear has 2 points in RaceKraft V8 Vets. All things stacked up. 2 laps to go for Jordan Ross, so he'll get the white flag next time. It has been an absolutely dominant way to kick off the new season of RaceKraft V8 Vets for Jordan Ross. He's the incumbent champion. Well, he's heading towards the 186 points for the race win, and also plenty of those bonus points with the fastest lap. He's inside of the top 10. He's going to lead the most laps. What he's not is on the Zoom call, and we don't know, or I don't know, how many incident points he's had.
So he's
no one's outscoring him though, that's for sure.
No, and he's truly taking advantage of making sure he gets each of those extra little bonuses that V8 Vets offers up. So he comes around now. Lap 42 about to commence, final lap of this 250k. We've snuck it in before the iRacing update. 17.5 seconds back to Mike Taliancic. As you said, David, a dominant performance, and he just looks like he's cruising home.
6 more kilometres for him. The only thing to worry about perhaps is a tiny bit of lap traffic ahead, because he's got 18 seconds in the mirror to Mike Taliancic. Taliancic pulling further ahead from Lob. Lob might be entering a little bit of fuel saving towards the end here. Lap time dropped off for him on the penultimate lap. Ken Latter and Wayne Walker getting closer. Scott Mackay still Troy Stone Street breathing down the back of his neck. Dean Logsdale getting a tiny bit closer. Travis Hunt and Mark Poynton completing the top 10, beginning the final lap of the race.
Yeah, this will be interesting to watch a few of these battles. Are we going to see some sends, or are we going to keep it a little bit tame? I guess looking at some of these gaps here, unless there's a real good sector or two throughout this race, I reckon we're not going to see too much. I say that, I've been proved wrong. Justin McLean on the inside of Michael Whiting, turn 1 on the last lap. Oh my goodness gracious, Justin McLean gets a bit loose down the inside, and then Whiting covers to keep him behind him. That was some rally style stuff, trying to keep that thing on the road.
So to this long late apex left-hander, Justin McLean still going to try to set up Michael Whiting. Best overtaking opportunity is the brakes into turn 7. Sean McNamara has been off-roading. Maybe he got a little bit of help out into the grass. You can see he was just depositing some grass, dirt, dust, debris back onto the racetrack as he's locked up at turn 3.
He's put a report in with race control, so we'll see what happens here. Interesting. It seems like that very minor contact, but it's clearly led to a lockup for McNamara.
Race leader out of the final corner, Sunset Bend, 42 laps, 250 kilometres of Sebring. Jordan Ross takes all of the chocolates in RaceKraft V8 Vets. To join him on the podium, you've got to wait a while to see Mike Talyancic come out of Sunset Bend, followed by Darren Lobb. It's going to be our podium. 2 positions gained for Talyancic for Synergy 1-2. Darren Lobb looks like he is going to hold on to his third. Pace dropped off a tiny bit for him in the last couple of laps. Ken Latter and Wayne Walker were not going to let him canter towards the checkered flag.
No, not let him get away with anything. And Scott Mackay now comes across 6, up 1. I think he was up as high as 5th. He managed to keep Stone Street and Logsdale at bay for that last part. A good result for him in the end after a strategy that could have gone better. But anyway, now we look here. I think this is the battle for 11th on the last lap here. Yep, that's it. Nash, Vanderkrant and Gallen all coming across the line now. Flashing lights, happy the race is over, but enjoyed the race they had, I reckon, as the rest of the field starts to file on through and finish up what has been a very good start to the season. A tame but entertaining 250 kilometres, I'd say.
Yeah, and incredibly competitive with some close battles all through the field, including that one coming out of the final corner right now. Stephen Vargas just ahead of Stephen Miller. Grumley under pressure right to the end from Luke Allman. They were both behind Logan Barnett. Might be a few drivers that sort of cough, splutter and coast their way to the checkered flag at the end of this one. That's the point of RaceKraft V8 Vets. 4 splits, this being the top 25% of drivers in the league. It should be very close. It should be high standards and it should be very competitive, and that's what's delivered in a new season of RaceKraft V8 Vets. Some drivers that we've seen in the top 10 last season struggling in this opening one that are going to look to bounce back next week at the next round. Last car's on the lead lap, taking that checkered flag right now. Barney can rest his arm as Craig Friend goes across the checkered flag. Jordan Ross did so just over 2 minutes ago when he took the race win. Mike Talyancic and Darren Lobb completing that podium. Ken Latter and Wayne Walker following in close company. Scott Mackay, Troy Stonestreet, Dean Logsdale, Travis Hunt and Mark Poynton as the top 10. David Nash charging 14 positions to 11th at the end of this race, ahead of Matt Vanderkrant, Jonathan Gallen, Michael Whiting, Justin McLean, Christian Smart, Brad Doble, Dean Flavel, Sean McNamara and Chris Burridge. The Dino Dino would have got some work out across 250 kilometres, I'm sure. And then Jeff Thomas, Stephen Banks, Jamie McKnight, Stephen Kennedy, Stephen Varga, Chris Miller, Logan Barnett, Stephen Grumley, Luke Allman and Greg Sharp. Just 4 Stephens on this page, if you don't mind. And they're all still on the lead lap as we look to 31st place. Wayne Sanderson, Scott McCune, Gary Buckland, Matty Parker, Bruce Tannock, Darren Crosby, Robert Crisdale, Chad Lewis and Darren Goosey, the last car on the lead lap by this measurement. Michael Stewart just falling off of it to 40th position, ahead of Stacey Boyd, Tim Nicol, Daniel Hall and Craig Friend. They're all going to be classified finishers. Stuart Hall, unfortunately, is not. 40 laps down and an early retirement. So with 5 drivers getting black flags for exceeding the incident limit, surprisingly, there's also another 5 drivers who've completed the race with 0. So full ends of the spectrum there. Smart, Stewart, Buckland, and another one that I forgot as it was said in my ear. Parker. Interesting. We can get to some of our drivers now post-race, including the Synergy Sim Racing duo. Brock Haddad, let's get to our winner.
Welcome to the box, Jordan Ross. Congratulations, mate, on a beautiful start to the season as reigning champion. I guess I've just got to ask, how did that feel out there? You seem very comfortable the whole way.
Yeah, mate, it was good. Not a lot to say really. I wasn't in any battles or anything. I think the guys behind me had a couple of little battles or whatever. But yeah, I did Pro Series here last week, so I've done a few laps around here. So I was pretty dialed in.
And I reckon you're being pretty modest with the a few laps comment there. But how does it feel to be top of the standings again? Like last season, you won by 100 points, which is a great way to do it. And now you're leading again. And we were just talking about the bonus points as well, and you've picked up a number of them. So does it give you a little bit of comfort heading into round 2, knowing you've kind of got a little bit of that buffer already for the season?
No, mate, I'm just literally taking it one race at a time. I'm just enjoying it in vets, and I like tonight's race is pretty straightforward, but next week we could have some weird thing with safety cars and whatever, and it drops it down the field, and enjoy battling a few of the guys. So I'm not really worried about the points or anything. You just want to have some good fun racing, and all these guys are good and fair to race against. So bring on the next few races.
That is an excellent way to approach it, mate. And it seemed like, look, I'll ask you one more question. I think I know the answer is going to be pretty clear cut. But the strategy tonight was just pretty much run down the fuel tank a bit, whack the tyres on, and do it again for the second stop.
Yeah, pretty much. In the first stint, it was just go easy on the tyres. Obviously, with Pro Series round here, the track was a lot hotter, but it's still, you can still rip the tyres off a thing if you go pretty hard. So I was just cruising, and then as the stint went on, the tyres were just were just fine the whole stint. So it was pretty much just even strat, and away we go.
Excellent, mate. Look, it was a dominant performance for you out there tonight, and congratulations yet again. Is there anyone you want to shout out or thank before we let you go?
Mate, my teammate Mike in P2, it's pretty cool. He was struggling with the car last season, and he's got a grip on it now. And I said late last year in one of the interviews that he look out for him this season because he started to get a handle on the car, and mate, up on the podium. So I'm proud of him. Thanks.
Thanks, Jordan. Great to hear from you, mate. Look forward to seeing more from you in the coming rounds.
Thanks, guys, and thanks for all the organisers and the broadcast team. See you guys.
All right, and now we have second place driver David Michael Taliancic.
Yeah, just as his teammates been gassing him up, and it was a good looking race from you then, Mike, from 4th on the grid to 2nd in the results, and I guess sort of making it a synergy 1-2.
Yeah, it didn't go too bad, but Jordan kind of flogged me there, so kind of makes you want to go a bit faster.
Well, he flogged 43 other blokes as well by the looks of things then. So, I mean, he had the strategy worked out, he had the car worked out. What was the challenge of Sebring in these cars other than maybe the bumps?
I think the gear ratio was an interesting challenge. It was a little bit off what I would have used, and made me have a few different decisions on corners, trying to figure out which gear I wanted to use. But mostly I think it was managing the tyre temperatures. It was quite easy to spike the tyre temperature, which would make you understeer or get loose on the exit of corners, and just trying to manage that throughout the race so you didn't make those mistakes. It didn't seem to have too much tyre wear, but yeah, the tyre temps I think were spiking a bit if you pushed it that little bit too hard.
And then a fair bit of your work was done on the strategy, running pretty long in the first stint and then a short middle stint by the looks of things.
Yeah, I've been sort of, like the last season, I was just sort of having fun, and I was trying to just enjoy my racing, and tonight I was just like, I wanted to see how well I could do and try and get back into my strategy, and I thought the car was really, really good at the end of the first stint on light fuel, which made me think having a light fuel load for my second stint, I was hoping to be able to like pull a bit of a gap and at least get into that second place position. I was never really going to touch Jordan after he gapped us, but it seemed to work out quite well running that light fuel and having a clear track in front of me.
And then no safety car coming. What would your response have been to, say, an early safety car, middle of the race safety car? Was anything about the strategy that you ran sort of in anticipation of the likelihood of one?
To be honest, running long in the first stint, I was probably a little bit vulnerable, as anyone was that stayed out, because you could get home from quite a bit sooner. So if you have that safety car, you can't get in both your CPS pit stops. And yeah, I think Wayne Walker, with that earlier stop, if he got a safety car, he probably would have been in the hot spot to win that race. And shout out to Wayne, he's really fast tonight. I hope he keeps that pace up. It's good to see another bloke performing really well.
Awesome, and really positive start to a new season of RaceKraft V8 Vets for you and your teammate. Who would you like to thank?
I'd just like to thank the guys at Synergy and Watercraft, DM Cinematography Works, and SimSpeed, Dr. Epoxy, and shout out to you guys for putting on the broadcast and all the guys behind Race Control. That's not a fun job, but I think they might have had a bit easier of a job tonight. 39 cars on the lead lap. I'd say the racing must have been a bit cleaner than I'd expect, because this is usually a battle intensive track, so I think things went pretty well all over the race tonight. But yeah, and just thanks to everyone who puts on the show.
Awesome. See you next week and enjoy the rest of the season 23.
Thanks, Dave.
There we go. Hearing from first and second at Sebring in RaceKraft V8 Vets from Sebring International Raceway. This season is just getting underway with lots more good racing to come. Darren Locke and heard, but we're not gonna hear from him.
Yeah, like, and maybe after a big race like that, you got to go have a break and a drink to calm down. But look, great race tonight. I think we saw up the top of the grid. At the top of the grid, we had some excellent racing, some great battles. While Jordan Ross ran away with it, we definitely saw some awesome battling with like that second down. So I think we're in for an excellent season here and very close competition, as you alluded to earlier, David.
So one more thing potentially to wrap up from Sebring. Could be the Chubby Buns Burgers driver of the day. Throw it to our director to tell us who it is. I think it's going to go to Mark Poynton, sneaking into the top 10, 14 positions gained, 15, and then a shorter stint towards the end of the race for Mark Poynton, the number 29 car. For the new season, that's our first Chubby Buns Burgers driver of the day, Mark Poynton.
Well done, well deserved. Raced hard out there tonight, played the strategy perfectly to be plus 14 in the top 10. You couldn't ask for a better start to your season when you qualify a bit down in the pack. Congrats, Mark.
Let's cast our eyes forward to the upcoming round of this championship. Because in a week's time, it's the track that these cars were made for and that we love to see them at. And a track that's 200 metres longer than Sebring International Raceway, with a bit more elevation change to boot as well. It's Mount Panorama. You'll see it here on SimSpeed TV, Thursday, 3rd of April, same time, for another exciting strategy-laden, wheel-to-wheel battling RaceKraft V8 Vets. Been David Haynes with Brock Caddo, Daniel Yeaman in the production for this one. I'm looking forward to seeing you in a week's time at the Mountain.